Good morning. It's Monday morning, and today on Monday we talk about the parable of the Good Samaritan in Luke chapter 10. I think we all know this parable by heart, right? We know exactly what it means. We know all about it. And probably a lot of what we know is wrong. Sorry to say it, but there you go. The parable, in short, the lawyer stands up and says, "What shall we do to inherit eternal life?" And, well, how do you read the law? Well, love the Lord your God with all your parts and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, "Good." And then the lawyer says, "Well, who's my neighbor?" Then we get this parable. A man is going down to Jericho. From Jerusalem to Jericho is a ways steep down a mountain. So he's going down, falls among robbers who hang around on that road, and they leave him half dead. Now, the priest was going by, and then a Levite was going by, and they passed by this guy on the other side of the road. They want nothing to do with him. Then the Samaritan comes along, and Good Samaritan takes care of him, spends his money on him, promises to spend whatever he needs to get the man well, and then leaves the man there and comes back later and pays the bill. Ooh, if we could only be like the Good Samaritan. Okay, let's straighten this out. First of all, when Jesus is telling this parable, the listeners are going, "Ooh, the Samaritan." The Jews hated the Samaritans, okay? Now, Israel is a strange little country. It's very thin and it's a couple 100 miles long, and there's Judah at the bottom, Judea, the bottom, the southernmost chunk of the country. And at the top, there's Galilee, near the Sea of Galilee. In the middle is Samaria. And Samaritans are disliked because of the history of the Jews. After Solomon's death, which is like 1,000 years before, a man named his son Rehoboam takes over the southern kingdom of Judah. No problem. The northern 10 tribes follow a man named Jeroboam. And Jeroboam then is a usurper who tries to take over the whole kingdom and ends up with the 10 tribes and makes his capital in Shechem, which is later becomes known as Samaria, the city of Samaria. And Jeroboam also makes golden calves and sets one up way in the north and one way in the southernmost part of his kingdom, at the city of Dan and the city of Bethel, and urges the people to worship there. And so as late as time of Jesus, the Samaritan woman at the well, says, "Well, your ancestors worship in Jerusalem, but mine worship at Samaria. Who's right?" And Jesus says, "Forget all that. Pretty soon is going to come a time when nobody worships at a temple." And that's another story. But so the Jews and the Samaritans had this deep hatred of each other that goes back 900 years. Okay, our country doesn't go back 900 years. 900 years ago, they hadn't even discovered the Americas. So this is a long time to hate people. But they don't like the Samaritans at all. So for Jesus to portray the Samaritan as the good guy is a radical thing. I mean, the man falls by the side of the road. The priest comes by and looks at him and goes, I can't deal with him," and keeps going. A Levite comes by. Now, Levites were the tribe from whom the priests came. So Levite is another holy kind of special person who also has no time for this half-dead guy. Keeps going. It's the Samaritan. Ooh, the yucky guy that everyone hates, who stops and helps him. The Samaritan stops and gives him aid. And so Jesus says, "Who is a neighbor to the man who fell among thieves?" Because you would think it would be the priest or the Levite. You'd think it would be the pastor or the church elder. You'd think it would be the religious person who obeys the law. But no, it's the Samaritan. And the whole reason for the distinction between Jews and Samaritans was that the Samaritans didn't obey God's law. They followed a different rule and worshiped in a different place. And all through the Old Testament, 1 Kings and 2 Kings, you read about all these kings. And every time one from the northern kingdom dies, it says, and didn't he lead the people in the sins of his ancestor Jeroboam of Nebat? And Jeroboam is the guy that set up these idolatrous places of worship. And so what Jesus is saying basically is that this guy that you all hate, yeah, he's the one who managed to be the neighbor to the Samaritan. Think about that today. We're going to leave it there today, but we're going to come back to this parable and talk about it some more tomorrow. So have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.